Okay, let me start recording to pin my.
Okay.
Recording, where is it? Okay, today we're going to study a very different master in Chinese landscape painting. His name is Shi Lu. Here's a portrait of him in the hospital by a famous figure painter from Guangzhou. His name is Yang Zhiguang, by the way. This painting is very famous. It captures the last days of Shi Lu in his in the state of mental illness and creativity. Anyway, he's a very legendary artist. He lived a very short life from 1919 to 1982, I think. So only 63 years old, same age as me now. So I have, because the Thanksgiving holiday, I had leisure to study him, to review his story, and I found more and more information about him. Even this morning, I'm still learning. So the more I learn about his life and his art, the more difficult to talk about him. So we'll probably just review some images, and I don't have a write-up besides the encyclopedia entry online. So let me just give some random comments when we go through some of the pictures. I have like over 200 pictures. I'm still finding more in my archive, in my past photos as a reference for the class. So I wish, I'll just go randomly because I don't have a PowerPoint, just whatever comes up, I will explain. So this guy is very important in his art career. His name is Feng Jianwu. Feng Jianwu. Maybe Victoria can help me spell the name in chat room, because I don't have time to do that. Forgive me. Feng Jianwu. He is the second older brother of him. He in his large family ranked the ninth son of the Feng family. 冯建吴，建设的建，吴，就是东吴的吴，就是姓吴的吴，姓。As you just heard, his last name is not Shi, but Feng, F-E-N-G. So Feng Yahen is his original family name, which is a large family in Sichuan, Renshou County, near Chengdu. His family was originally from, I don't know, a coastal place, and 5 generations above in the Qing dynasty. And his ancestors involved in the Chinese medicine with Tibet, Honghua Cao, I think it's a very treasurable ingredient in Chinese traditional medicine. So he traded the Sichuan is neighboring to Tibet. So he made a fortune. His ancestors made a fortune and invested in buying land in Sichuan and become a land-owning you may call landlord, but actually merchant, land owning. So his family has a large castle kind of building. In that building, there's a library with 20,000 volumes of collections. His older brother here, as you see in the picture, went to Shanghai to study in an art school run by Wu Changshuo, and his teacher, including Pan Tianshou, that we studied. So he returned to Chengdu to open his own school. He became the dean of the Oriental Art Specialties 专业 Professional School. And Shilu, his younger brother, Feng Yahen, at that time, was 15 years old. And he persuaded his mother to let the younger brother to become one of the first, the youngest student of his school. As you see here in the group picture, in the middle is the dean, his brother, and some other faculty members. And this young boy, I think in the picture, he is probably 17 years old, but he was 15 when he studied fine art. So he studied sketch figures mostly. So he also, his brother also taught Chinese painting. So later, incidentally, when he met Pan Tianshou, Pan Tianshou considered him as a second generation student because he's a student's brother, and so Pan Tianshou take him very as an intimate relationship, student and teacher relationship, and give him very valuable criticism, not usually given to other people. Anyway, so Feng Jianwu is very well educated in Shanghai, so he has the connection with Shanghai school, and his painting, as you see, is very powerful as well. So I think when we talk about the Chang'an Huapai, the school of Chang'an or Xi'an, which is actually not in his hometown. Long story short, he went to Yan'an, the base of communist revolution with Mao, and then after the revolution, he located in Xi'an, which is the ancient capital, Chang'an. The first emperor's what is it called? The little warrior, the figures, what is the term? Someone help me.
Are you talking about Pui?
The little pottery figurines, the tomb, that's the place. The Xi'an is very famous with the first emperor's mausoleum, with thousands of soldiers buried, made of the pottery warriors. It's very famous for foreign leaders to visit, right, the place. And there are 9 dynasties capital there, including the Tang Dynasty. So it's has very rich culture. Anyway, I think I jumped ahead. We probably should go back to his early time again. This is a show that has some brushes he used. He used mostly soft brush, looks like, or mixture hair brush. Okay. Well, I took these pictures this morning because I got 2 books from during my art pursuit. I first encountered his art in a one-man exhibition in 1980. After he was liberated from all the the political persecution after the end of the end of Cultural Revolution, he became very famous, and this issue of a magazine has his picture on the cover, and also I received this book from my student Linda Ann many years ago. I just took it out this morning, and then I realized something new, because the author of this book, Cai Xiaoli, was the daughter of a very important founding member of that group in Chang'an School. Her father, Cai Heding or Cai Heting, was relocated to Chang'an or Xi'an after the Communist Revolution. So there are many people like Cai Heding, including He Haixia. This guy on the other side of this magazine is He Haixia, another key member of the Chang'an School, and they formed a group to study to modernize Chinese painting, devoted to modernize Chinese painting. Then this person, Zhao Wangyun, he's also a leader in the group. It's called the Chinese Painting Research Institute in Xi'an in the early 60s or late 50s, I think. Yeah. So we can go back to this later, but let me show some early pictures. Okay, yeah, as you see in this picture on his table, can you identify this book?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have brought this book with me when I came to this country. So as I mentioned earlier, I didn't bring any clothes, always, painting materials. For the second day when I arrived in Seattle, I have to go to flea market to buy underwears. So this book was with me. And so you can see in his hospital, his painting with this magazine just published, fresh, probably in 1980. He eventually saw his work in publication because he was persecuted by the leftists, or we call it Gun of Four in the Cultural Revolution, because of this particular painting in the magazine, this same magazine. Actually, this painting was printed in his early collection book, which was never published because of this painting. So he in 1964 he had a book already printed, including this painting, but this painting was criticized for many reasons, because he goes beyond the realism and using some concept to depict Mao among a barren yellow earth plateau, leading the victory of the communist army. Actually, he was surrounded by thousands the enemy troops, but he only had like a very few guerrilla forces, including the painter himself. But he didn't paint anybody but Mao with his horse and one soldier and one peasant. So the criticism says, he isolated Mao from the masses, and he is kind of on the cliff of failure or something like that, frustrated or something. That doesn't look right for them. So he was depressed, and so in 1965 he got persecuted politically. There are also other paintings like this. He was in a period of creating mural-sized paintings. This painting is huge. It's like 3 meters. Where it survived. There's a larger one. It didn't survive.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
They criticized this painting because it made Mao look like he was on a precipice and he was going to fall off, and so he was at the end of the road. But
exactly. That's what you feel.
But did Shirley deliberately make this a propaganda piece, or was this just his artistic decision because he went to jail for this piece?
No, that's your interpretation or others' interpretation. No, he didn't against Mao. He is a revolutionary artist.
Okay, all right.
He is a very okay, how to speak. He was Mao said good art is a marriage of realism and idealism.
Yes. Okay.
Right. He's more his painting. Okay. There are many critiques about this painting these days. We're all positive. Everybody can see that he's ahead of his time. So in here, he's not painting a historical scene, but because Mao is is looking into the future of it's taking the whole China, even the whole world. Okay, I think I better not talk politics because it's a really heavy topic. I used to teach a class that talks about all this contemporary movements, political movement, and the reference including the novel by Lu Xun, where he got his name Lu from. He betrayed his family, so to speak, when he went to Yan'an to join Mao's army. He changed his last name to Shi because he's admirer of Shi Tao. Shi Tao, the Qing dynasty painter, who was the Ming dynasty royal family and became a painter after the Qing dynasty. And Bala Shanren also he admired. So he changed his name to Shi and then adopted a radical writer's name, Lu Xun's pen name. Actually, it became his revolutionary pen name. So he became Shi Lu, and all his children named Shi. But later in his years, he used the seal. He drew a seal, says the 9th son of the Feng family. So anyway. Okay, from his technical point of view, he painted the entire monumental landscape realistically, but also, very well composed to have a very rhythmic composition. You can see it's all focused on the statue of Mao. And he doesn't paint any vegetation, any grass or trees. That's the geographic feature of that place. If you go to the east, the west of Mount Hua, the mountain we're going to paint today, you'll see this kind of scenery. There's no less and less greens, more yellow earth like this. of course, it's exaggerated. He made a lot of small studies like this, and here's a detail. Here is a detail of that that large painting, and this is a typical Yellow Earth school painting. He doesn't use ink; he used the amber and cinnabar, and he used red calligraphy. See, that's his calligraphy is very unique. It broke all the rules, you know, and very powerful. He doesn't use any special technique. It's all hand, just brush painting, no crinkle paper at all. Just, you know, so he's so eccentric, so to speak. He would modify his old paintings, like this one. He gave to a friend, and then later he took it back and added some branches and re-inscribed it. So he will cover the original inscription with the leaves sometimes, I see. And this is a flower painting, and he also does very cute animals, like cats here. And you can immediately recognize his strokes, no matter what he do, you know, either a flower or a tree or landscape. This is a 福宝石, you know, the 福宝. This magazine is called the Chinese Calligraphy and Painting. Some different content. Now this page, this middle page of the magazine features 4 of his flower paintings. And it has greatly influenced my own painting, actually, like this. When I do roses and the peony, and this snowy branch of plum blossom and the yellow maple. Okay, even you can see from yeah, the reason I showed this is like when he do landscape, same kind of stroke, like he write, yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Did he develop his calligraphy, his wild calligraphy, before or after prison?
After. After. Yeah, here is another. He inscribed his friend's calligraphy. So many people conservative critique will say his calligraphy is ugly, but his artist friend seems very appreciated his painting and always asking him to inscribe his painting. You can see the painting here is done by Cai Heting or Cai Heting, but inscribed by him is so integrated into the parts of you know, the branches of the plant in the pot, like that. So his calligraphy is a painting. Painting is calligraphy, and he also is known to use hand-drawn seal. He doesn't carve his seal. He draw it. He drew the seal as well. Let me. Yeah, we'll do some more paintings. Let me go to. Yes. Okay, I have to move faster. I know. That's his last pictures. I think with the teeth lost. He's only 60 years old. You know. Because every like 7 or 8 years, his art will be completely different. Just like the history of that time, you know, it has so much to do with the time, yeah. And after he get out of the hospital, he paint for his own, and he gave him to only good friend like this. He this is the the Huashan that we talked about, I want to go to the earlier. So I'm kind of looking from backwards. So let me start from the beginning, maybe. Okay. So in 1962, he went to this mountain called the Huashan. It's only 1 hour by train. I went there when I was 20 years old. Yeah. 21, I think, probably. When I did the field study in Xi'an for like 2 months, 1.5 months maybe, during a break, we went there in the by train in the night, and then went to the mountain and come back before in the next evening. So it's very close to Xi'an. He made only one trip there. This is 2 paintings he did immediately after the trip. Is more realistic. So he paint more realistic scenery of the tree, of the rock, of the mountain. And later he become more and more abstract and expressive, especially after his illness. He used art to pacify his soul. So he to express himself. So he paint. Okay, this is the picture immediately after his first involuntary hospitalization. This is actually the second hospitalization in 1971, and he took his old paintings. He made 2 trips to foreign countries, to India and to Egypt in the mid-50s. And those trips changed his view of Chinese art, because before that he adopted socialist realism, the influence from Soviet Union, and then tried to use Western approach, Western perspective, Western color to paint realistic or idealistic, if you want, the propaganda paintings. But after his trip to World Expo, he was in charge of the Chinese Pavilion in India in 1956, I think. When he saw other countries' cultural and art, he realized that to be a Chinese artist in the world, you have to maintain the tradition. So after he returned, he organized the group to study traditional Chinese brush painting. So this painting he did in Egypt or in India. In early 70s, he took it out and started to, because he was ill. He suffered from a disease called schizophrenia. Right?
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia.
Personality.
It's a mental state where he will see delusions, fragments of thoughts and raining thoughts, So he will write. Nobody can recognize language using Latin letters, Chinese characters, and things he create as a decoration. This is very typical you can, if you search the word schizophrenia, you will see samples of patient embroidery on Google. If you see, they do the same thing, using words to write unreadable sentences, or and this is Egypt or Indian monk. He added those little inscriptions, nobody can interpret to make it a god. And this mother and daughter, he added also those. I think he probably impressed or inspired by the Egypt ancient writing system. I don't know what I forgot the ideographs, of Egypt probably. So he invented this kind of language, which some scholars try to interpret, but I think it's impossible because this is a subconscious product. And this landscape of that foreign trip, he made this inscriptions in the 1970s, and his wife thought he was destroying them, but one of his students said, "That's good, keep them." So they kept, and yeah, this is a Egypt artist portrait originally, but he added the letters in the background and decorated like a goddess. And so as this Egypt man. And okay, this one, I wish you could see the details. It was a painting on silk, a beauty, a foreign lady, I think. So before his daughter's eyes and other family members, he used the ink paste for seal. He painted with the ink paste for red cinema. He covered most of the painting and re-inscribed the painting saying rather marriage beauty, not ugly, or something like that. So he is discussing the current aesthetics, I think. And then actually this time they think it's good. His daughter actually is an art student. She tried to she praised that, but just after that, her father took a pair of scissors, cut it into half, giving one half to the daughter and another half to his son. Later they pieced it together, so you can see the cut right here. It's a museum piece. Long story. I can talk about him like 5 days. Do you want me to talk or paint? Artist, right? A lot of stories. This is a symbolic of two animals. I think in Han Dynasty they represent two directions, the north and south, or something like that. So, but let me see. Here it says, it represents longevity or anyway, the turtle and the snake. It represents the marriage of wisdom and what is that? Oh, wisdom, or the opposite of wisdom, the idiot, right? Or not idiot. Actually, the one snake is very active and one is stable, like this turtle. I think, but yeah, he does something very mysterious in this few years, short period after his. Actually, he escaped from the hospital twice. One time he tried to go home in Sichuan, so he boarded to a train towards Sichuan. But as soon as the train, he saw some mountains in the outside. He took off. He thought he arrived his home, but actually he ended up in a wild area, and he survived by steered corn from the field. And he was left a note saying, "I'll pay you later because I don't have money. I'm difficult time, but I will pay you back, something like that. So eventually he was caught by the security, the police, because they thought that he is a Soviet spy, because that area is a military, factory or place or something. So he was beaten and he had to tell them his true identity. So he was sent back and he was persecuted and put back into hospital. Anyway, so for 52 days he survived. I think he must have enjoyed that experience. Anyway, this was this was in his 73, okay, 1973, after his illness. He actually was a very famous writer. He wrote a screenplay for a movie in 1950s and made a fortune. Actually, he was paid like very well. So he treated his friend and he bought a very expensive rice paper from the Channel Emperor's collection or something like that. So, but later he wrote another novel about a local communist guerrilla leader, Liu Zhidan. But he was, because in that, just before the eve of Cultural Revolution, everybody involved in that group was persecuted, including the father of the current Chinese leader, Xi Jinping's son, Xi Jinping. He was involved in that persecution because he wrote a positive story about this group is they remained in, actually they opened the Xi'an or the Yan'an base. They didn't participate in the long march, but Mao joined them. There's a power struggle, or something. So he involved heavily in the politics. That's why he got mad, because the politics, just like you have a little sense, like if you understand why the statues in DC are torn down, you understand, what kind of state China, just a little bit. Much worse in Cultural Revolution. Okay, I know we have some different political views, but don't be ideological oriented. Everybody should have this tolerance. So the only way to escape that kind of struggle is to pretend you are mad, right? That's his solution. So he was actually sentenced to death because he criticized the radicals, and his doctor in the hospital spoke for him, said he's a patient. You cannot kill a patient for what he says. So his sentence was not executed. It took a few years for the government to release him, to clear him up, but fortunately he survived. So his art really helped him later, in healing process. And this is one of the last picture he took. He was in a filmmaking session, I think, a painting or writing for a flood victims in 1980s. I think this is 1981. He died in 1982. So this is one of his last painting in Beijing, I think. So yeah, they filmed the process of his painting. You can see on YouTube. There's only a few seconds, not much. That's the only painting video we found. Okay, so in his later years, he painted a lot of Huashan mountain, and it become more and more abstract, maybe like this, yeah. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. And this close this. Okay. I think
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any question?
I just want to say thank you very much. It's hard to tell his story.
Oh yeah, now getting the fun part. This mountain I climbed in 1980. I think he is still alive, right? And I saw the painting he done already in Nanjing before I go there. So I must go there. I know this is a different, a secret mountain, one of the 5 secret mountains in China. It's called the Northern Secret Mountain. And this is the peak. There are 5 peaks. This is a picture I took from online. It's color pictures, and this is me at the age of 20. I'm doing sketches. In that morning, I went there, and this is me. It was very tiny film. You know, I took like 72 pictures out of the 26 film. You know, so they're very rough. It's a half size for because I can took more photos in that way. And this is the tree he depicts. You see, the tree is very tall. It's more like an American pine, you know, here maybe, but different from Huangshan, the yellow mountain that we have in the south. So this, you can see the granite stone is very different. Also, it's very powerful, very steep, and it's kind of dangerous. Yeah, it could fall. You know, I'll show you the cliff I have to pass along the way. And this pine tree I took, you can see it's just relatively small, so you can see the gesture of it. It's on top of the mountain. And this was in early morning, so there are mist and clouds and rising after rain. Actually, it was raining that morning. I had written a story in Chinese. Maybe I can share with some student who can read that. I have that story with me actually. Okay, this is a picture I took after the sunrise. It's a Xifeng. There's a movie says there's only one way to the peak of Huashan. That's a very dangerous place. Yeah. Okay, and I try to show you this so you can later understand his painting technique. You know, how to convey this kind of feel. He used a very powerful triangular kind of angular lines. Yeah, and this is me climbing the mountain, Huashan, and see how steep this is. And we have a painting in the archive I gave you, just look like just like this place, right? So he was quite faithful to depict the mountain, but also he's free because he painted from memory. He never went back, just like me. I never went back, but I have very good memory of that mountain. And this is how steep that mountain is. And this is me climbing the mountain in the mist. And that I just took out this 10 minutes ago, so I didn't even take it off from the album. You can see that some color pictures I took from that. In 1980, the color photo just come into the country because I have a Japanese roommate. They gave me. They took to Japan to develop. I cannot even develop in China, so it's very treacherous for me to have these photos in the 1980s. And this is not me, someone else. And this is the dangerous place we have to pass like this. There's no security belt, just you could fall and die there. And this mountain, remember we did a Song Wenzhi study. It's just like this, right? He probably didn't do the Huashan. He never been there. Probably it's so difficult to climb for most people. Once is enough, you know. But he did this almost like this. The last class, remember that cliff we did? If you could record the rising clouds. Yeah. Okay. And that's the mountain. So now let's take a look and choose one to do. Okay. Let me see. I will just pick the one recommended by my student Linda in the regular class. So this is relatively easy, I think. Do you want to do this one to start with? Let's do that, okay? And this, I think, is quite representative because his calligraphy is in red, and he drew his. I cannot really enlarge. Oh yeah, you can see his seal is drawn, hand drawn. Right?
Your name, who you're calling, and why.
Mute the. So he used absorbent shuan. I'll use double shuan today. You can use single one. And this is a very good one. You can see the watermark. So it must be like a water star, not water star, red star. And this brush may be too big. Zoom out. Yeah, because the proportion is different, so we must do some cropping. So I'll just cut off the bottom part a little bit. Make a just cut out to the bottom. Let me crop it on the screen so we can. Oops. Maybe it's hard because it's so long. We can just do part of just part by part, I think. He probably used a soft brush because it's very wet, actually. I got some leftover ink. I'm going to recycle this, maybe. Just add a little water and grind it a little. It's a mix of overnight ink and fresh ink. The overnight ink will create more grains, but he probably used very good fresh ink. It has all the gradation. Here we see wet into wet. It could be dark into light or light into dark. So let's do dark into light. Sorry, dark first, and then we will do the light, I think. Yeah. So I'll load the brush with water first. you might want to have a little bit, just a little bit, maybe, grade 1. I'm sorry, I got some stains. That's good. Create some stains already. Just like grade 1, barely little grade, so it's not perfectly clean. And then I squeeze out the water, so I don't want to smear too much, and you can use a blotting paper just in case. And I load the brush with dark ink, maybe halfway, and then I hold the brush at the slant position. So we go from there. I will start from, let's say, maybe we omit the top. We can just do, how do we do this? We can make a little diagonal maybe. And this little rock should be
sample whole picture shows.
Yeah, I try to crop it. That's what I'm doing. Okay, if I show the whole picture, I cannot make it fit. I have to crop the paper. So maybe better idea is to do that. We just crop the paper and just like cut a piece off. You can just fold it without cutting. Cut off that stain part. And I'll do this way. I think it should be still narrower, but that's okay. So make sure it's not too big, because the original painting must be very large. So we have to use a smaller brush if you like. I just use the tip of the brush maybe. I'll dry a little bit so I can control the bleeding. I'll do this left side first. Just test. Go slowly. Go slow and have a lot of frequent stops.
Show whole picture, please.
Okay, if I show the whole picture, you cannot see the strokes. Try to see the strokes first. I'm going to zoom out. Okay.
Make your face the one smaller. The window of your face.
I cannot crop it. That's the problem. Okay, I see what I can do. So this way, maybe. Now you can see better, right? Okay, now we can see both, right? Thank you, Victoria. Good solution. Just, kind of, this is a soft brush. Yeah, it's a soft brush. It's like a very soft. So it just exhausts the ink. And reload it same way. I try to keep the bottom light. Okay, now I add little. So this painter is very good at oil, Western painter. So he understands the lighting and the surface, the plane, that kind of thing, the cubit, so his painting is very structural in terms of that dimension or kind of 3D. And I try to kind of change the paper size so you can see better. And this is another little peak you want to. And you can break. You can use when you add to the first one. I'll use a different tone, either lighter or darker. In this case, lighter. So just break it. Okay. And good. I think that's the tree trunk already. So I have to zoom in locationally to see it. Okay, can you see that? It's a trunk. Okay, that goes up like that, and then bend back. And this is a snow scenery, like early winter, like this season. Perfect for us. And just using the same split brush head to put some a suggestion of the pine needles. Okay, let me zoom in for the tree. There's a triangular crossing like that, and just a little bit pine needle. And leave a lot of space for a suggestion of either the frogs, the what they call those frosty branches, right? White with glass icicles and things like that. And they're not. In painting, we also create some asymmetrical, even though in life, the tree may be, may have branches on both sides, but we try to break that, just concentrate on one. So this gives like a direction, like a pointer to the top, but this goes back like that. So you use part of the split brush to do the details if needed. Okay, and later we can add more light if you want to. So that's the tree, and let me zoom out. Because my paper is much smaller, so I'm going to simplify it. All right. The remaining ink actually, if we plant, let's see if I can exhaust some here. You can use the remaining ink to do the top immediately, but if not appropriate, you can wash out a little bit. But right now I try to exhaust it first. So I add a little bit here. Right, then I not clean the brush, I just put water in the bottom of the brush, recharge the brush, and leave the remaining ink so that kind of echo the continuous the ink I got from front, same brush. It looks like it just come here, and you can dip a little bit, soften the tip a little bit with clean water. And this one almost like a diagonal line that goes directly up, and leave some white. Don't want to cross the two. And here, I occasionally roll the brush to create this kind of change variations, because my different side had different ink. I use the side of the brush. And you can have like a shaking strokes in the way, if you shaking hand, if you want, just like you can hear that, and he does very fast. I'm sure he's very confident painter. And just use the bottom of the brush, exhaust it. Yeah. And sometimes this kind of dry brush is good to have as preparation for the wet. And then you have a little dry substance first, and then you put it wet on top of that. That creates very interesting, rich texture. Okay, and I'm doing negative painting of this slope actually, so I don't continue this. I use this background to shape it, to squeeze out, to foil out this lower part, and you can add a little bit dark. Let me see. When I use my rational side of the brain, I tend to lose that kind of flow. So, but usually when you have a problem, you have to use reason to adjust it. Otherwise, you just go with your intuition. Okay, the top is light ink. It has angular shape of, and leave a little white between each layer. It's very important to leave that little white there. Okay, you can go from bottom up, so you have more control. I can add, if I need, a little peak here to stop that. But this is not the river. You have to remember this is Mount Hua, so they're monolithic, more monolithic than the needle peaks that we depict in southern China. But there's a lot of subtle shapes. And this paper leaves a watermark between strokes that creates a very good structure, texture, whatever you call it. And finally, I have a little triangular peak that actually continues overlapping with this peak, but it's much lighter. Oops, a little dark, too dark. Oops. Well, that's okay. It could be part of this front. So you, when that happens, you adjust to your, so you can make this into the front, if that's too dark. This kind of adjustment is sometimes ambiguity is good. You don't have to define that actually. And that goes out, goes up a little bit. And here I want to have a little dark. This shady part. Don't destroy the initial momentum. That's very important. And I see a little contour here. You don't want to really copy stroke by stroke because it's not possible. I try to understand the principle, the natural law, the Dao, because the form and the shape is not constant, but the rules are just constant. So you try to paint it as long as you follow the rule, the natural law. Your painting you can create your imaginary painting look very naturally, right? So okay, that's probably it. You can highlight a little bit if you want to add some darkest dark, some details still if you need to. You can use a smaller brush and you can add a little detail to the front, I think. And I think there might be like a pine cone, like we call it must dots. So you can dot a few, but don't do it like like a flowering birds painting, you don't have to paint all the details. But it's the feeling of things, not the depiction of. Okay. And you have to, I don't have room for this inscription, unfortunately. I think this part, let me see. Oh, yeah, actually, I can see better in the I wish I didn't do this. That's bad. So he had like a cut off like that. That's great. So I wish I had not done this. It's certainly I did this. It's not so strange anymore because his painting has this kind of characteristic of unusual. Yeah. But it's still, you see this in the Huangshan, in the Huashan mountain, that cliff. It's really, if you haven't done this, I wish you could. Let's try one more. Doesn't take too long to do a fast one. Okay, I try not to talk, just to concentrate on the painting this time. And if you want, you can try again. So I'll try to create a large white area in the middle like he does, but I don't change the paper anymore. I just paint with the inspiration of his. So the pines on the cliff goes like that. Have some angular stop. So that's a different brush. And just use light ink for the back. Two different grays. One is a little darker. And you can squeeze your eye when you paint, so you can see the dark, just the black and white. Very important, the qi take out, the painting before the brush is there. Very steep here. You see this diagonal line, continues, unifies actually. You can add a little mounted lower, but not on top, I think. That stops, it just serve as the seal, to stop that falling trend, and then push back. The top is another very tall, snowy peak. This one must be taller. Okay. And this goes almost outside the frame. tend to do too much. So this is a little better, I think, compared to this early. And this painting, I just kind of painting the pieces without looking at the whole thing. This one, I try to connect all the qi, you know. So like this angle is the same, like triangles, you know, okay. Then I will just put now I'm doing something rational. Just a little highlight, maybe. Yeah, his painting is not so we call qiao, or is more into the category of zhuo, means unintended, very more primitive, not craft, you know. Qiao means more crafty, so he's more close to the heart. It's going with the feeling, you know, of it, not the depiction of the object. All right, so let's try to write something with his calligraphy. You can let's say tribute to Shilu. Right? His title is 华乐 something. It's hard to read. I tried to ask my calligraphy friend to read some of his calligraphy. He said it's the hardest calligrapher to read sometimes, because he doesn't really follow conventional rules. And we can just write his name, Shilu, tribute to Shilu. But I think I cannot really imitate his, maybe a little bit, see if I can do. So the only color in the painting is this calligraphy, the warm color. So I'm going to use a mixture of some reddish colors here to create a. I think he used the cinnabar. Maybe, yeah, I just mix all the red. Cinnabar. It's a little bit pinkish here. Oh, that's probably right. And he used the cinnabar and the rouge for that. I just mix all of them, just kind of like that. Make it. And you can use your initial to write to create a seal like that. It's irregular form, you know. So let me see. We can do this. We can say 仿实录 or 致敬实录. 仿 is easier to write, so we just say 仿实录. 华, let's say 华乐松风. We can write 华乐松风. 华, we can copy. The first is 华, mountain 华, right? So can you see my writing here? this line there. Yue means secret mountain. There are 5 of them in China. Oh, this can be diagonal. See, the beginning is a little kind of, and here have like a very arbitrary. The turns are very abrupt and very something like that. Just make turns very angular, I think. There's no round dots, should be triangular. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just paint. I know Peter does this better than me. She can copy everybody's signature. I just kind of paint. I tried to pick a word, pine, but I couldn't find it. Oh, I found the feng, 长风, the wind. That's what I need. Okay, I'll create my own song. 长风, 长风. See if I can do that. Usually we arrange the space evenly, but in his case, he tried to squeeze the space and very exaggerate the contrast. This is my song, pine. Feng means wind or style, Okay, this wind. See this triangular? Nobody can really duplicate his calligraphy. Oh, there's again many fake art online. It's, because his price almost can beat. Second to Zhan Naiqian's. So he's a good candidate for the next $1 billion auction. They predict his highest auction price is half billion. Okay, so this is a hua. Hua actually could mean Chinese. Hua. Yue means secret mountain. I think maybe Victoria can type this character for me in the chat. Yue in traditional Chinese. Can you write the Yue in Chinese for me? Okay. So we can say 仿实录. Fang means mimic. And this signature, I try to, he write his name 石 as in 白, I don't know why. Maybe 齐白石 白. He omitted the top sometimes. He just and this mouse is very squeezed. Something like that. Could be very exaggerated. 石 and everything is triangular, and the top become very squeezed of this character, and the middle also the crossing, just a little suggestion. So his space arrangement just like that, very tight and very loose at the same time. And I know he kind of put two lines kind of mingle together to create something, he make words into a pattern, like a belt or something, cloud or something like that's more characteristic. So maybe I make another line saying the year of ox. This is winter already. Winter sea. Okay.
Henry, can you put all the character in the chat?
Victoria, can you type 华岳松风访实录 in the chat for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then my name. You don't have to copy my signature. Yeah, you can go slow. Have a lot of angular tense, triangular. He studies calligraphy, the northern styles, because Xi'an has a lot of styles. Okay. Oh, I have to draw the seal, and I'll just draw my last name, and you can create a shape first, like a irregular, and you can have some broken edges if you like, and then angular, broken sometimes. Just the idea. So you can draw your initial or something in that if you want. It should be thinner. I think that's a little bit too heavy. Let me see the chat room. Any questions there? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, it's a yen. I think I thought it was something else. Right. I think I wrote it wrong. This is Chen, the dog, vertical. But in the middle, I think I made something different. It could be something else, right? Right. You can recognize that roughly. That's it. And let me see if there's a corner seal. No. Yeah, he sometimes draw more than one seal on the same painting. So let me zoom out. All right. Let me just add a little bit light. You can always add after the first dries, so it will not smear. But don't overdo it to destroy the momentum of the initial stroke. Okay, this one is very sophisticated. It's a large painting with pine trees. Victoria is actually teaching pine trees last week and maybe this week. You can study with her. I'm not going to do this one, I think. So we'll try to maybe do another one, something more fast, I think. Okay. This one has a lot of line. Is a large one. Very different. Okay, this pine tree, 3 pine trees. So, probably was in the, yeah, it's a little more realistic, right? This one is very loose, but I'm not sure the authenticity of this one actually. Okay, this is the original. Oh, this one. Maybe this one is a good candidate to do. Here's the first one I did. I'm not going to sign it, just a practice. You can see the space arrangement is not it's not as good as second one. It's okay. I got just a stained piece of mulberry paper. Let me just use this one. Do a quick study. We can simplify the details, but I think this composition is nice. I can try to do this. Again, because my paper is shorter, so I'm going to change a little bit. But I have this stain already, so I'm going just to follow this to fix this. Just add a little definition. Will make this foreground. This just the forest. So that's okay. We just leave that for interpretation of the viewer, whatever they think it is. So this is my foreground. This is a blotting paper I used for another project maybe. And then this painting has a lot of soft, because the granite is very white, very light. So we want to keep it light. Just add water to the ink to make it light. And you can add a little bit color, like a warm amber or orange color to it, to give it a warm. I see the kind of a beam of light on this corner here. So it's about two-thirds from the side. Okay. And that's a lit part. And just kind of blocking the shape. The brush is kind of loaded with both little warm gray and gray. So it has a darker side. I think that gives a little contour with the side of the brush. There's white stone on top that very close to the top. Very close to the top. We try to part really dense, almost go off the frame, right? Tony Dai is what he learned from Shitao, it's wet into wet. And using color with ink also is created by is often seen in Shitao. But the colors is so soft. It's not as strong as Western watercolor. So just dilute it. This cliff with a little definition. This is a little darker into light to create some detailed dry stroke, very dry onto wet, not wet into wet, right? And then dilute it to the cooler. You can add a little blue. I don't have blue here. You can add a little indigo to make some part a little bluer. So just simple colors, two colors to create a warm and cool contrast. And this leave a little bit white in between the two. So just exhaust the brush with dry brush, and then you can bring them together with the washes later. Okay. With the Shuan paper, it tends to keep the stroke, and with the mulberry paper, it tends to flatten. So you have to dry each layer before you sometimes to fix each layer to accumulate more layers. Okay, I just wait to dry. So I'll add the trees now. You can do the background first, or because it's still wet, maybe I can do this here. This tree is quite large. It could be third. Let me see. Yeah, it's about here. And the tree trunk, it looks like the light comes from right. Yeah, I'll make it left, maybe whatever. But you can shift back and forth. Doesn't have to be one source of light. So the highlight sometimes on the left side, sometimes on the right side. It shows a twist kind of feel. And you just put some bark to suggest the rough texture of the pine. And just make a little, keep the gesture in mind. So they're not symmetrical. This side has a fewer branch, but a long hanging branch there. this one, I would do this one because this is the dry side I can work on now. I'll just do the branches first. And we can simply use the side of the brush to draw the shape, and then you use the tip of the brush to add a little texture, combine to simplify the study. Okay, so this one actually goes out of the picture. That's kind of interesting. Very luxuriant tree. Lot of it's a large crown. So let me just block in this shape so you can see what I see here. And there's some branches on the in the back. I just add a little water to make it a little lighter branches. So I try to control the shape. So this is probably the 1960 version of the mountain and the pine. We use his late concept to simplify it, to make it more expressive. Yeah, you must go slow because the criticism that Pantian Shou gave him is that the group of artists tended to paint too fast, and they need to go slow and to study more calligraphy. So he did that after 1960s, the initial show of they studied more traditional calligraphy and they brought that into the painting. So it's more solid, not just like sketches. Yeah. But it's good to have all the ink techniques, breaking. He praised them for using the ink with a different tonality, different techniques, but the stroke has to be more solid. Yeah, that's the advice given by Pantian Shou, his brother's teacher, and he also honored him highly. And this kind branch is very unique, so you must do carefully to show the characteristic of Shou's painting. It's almost like broken, but not. There is a 1,000-year, almost like 1,600-year-old tree in my hometown Nanjing. It's called the Sixth Dynasty cypress tree, actually. And you can see all the branches are hanging like that, but still alive, so it still grows. Spirit of resilience. So in his painting, he has this spirit of resilience and healing power. So I just leave it to dry because it's so wet. I cannot do the details, and I don't want to do more. Just enough, I think. So dark against light here. So that defines the rock. Also here a little bit separate the two layers. Okay, and the top, I would use a lighter ink, but not too light, right? So it's but smaller. So in distance, it's a smaller and lighter, supposedly lighter. So you can do a little bit lighter. And this is negative painting to squeeze out the light against the light rock granite maybe in the sunset or sunrise. It's very, and notice the in and out of this shape hanging from the cliff that kind of welcomes this or pointing back to the hosting tree. Okay, this hanging branches in and out, small but very rhythmic. This is very traditional, by the way, right? It's finally that's done by. So we try to create a contemporary feel. So we use more like a dry brush. Okay, there's a little tree standing on top of the cliff. And very light, but it's a nice, just one single branch that captured the spirit of the pine. You know, that's wonderful. So less is more. Oops, I think that there should be. We consider clouds is a seed. This is like something like they will name the tree like a dragon exploring the sea or something like that. So this is a mid group or small. It should be a small group. That the middle is so large. In the painting, we consider always grouping, right? As far as this tree is concerned, here is the large tree, the large, and then the medium group, and a small jumper that combines this the groups. This is a small that actually connects to the two blocks or two groups. And you can do the trunk first with vertical bars and then add horizontal lines for the distance. I think he probably did something like this, small, shorter. You can see this kind of thing in Mustard Seeds Garden painting manual of painting, right? Just and we taught many times how to do distant pines. The leaf usually on top of the horizontal branch boughs. In the distant, you don't really see the needles. You probably just see some dashes or bars. So I just kind of blur all the details. But as long as you have the image, in mind, the idea completes with the absence of stroke. Don't try to create a rhythm like a dense and sparse. Naturally, if you paint in a sequence, it will happen from dark to light. A little bit. Oops. But this beyond the frame, that's nice. Small, so it pushes back to indicate the distance, and you can draw it with an iron. I think. Draw it. See the true color better. Better use a. Let's see. Okay. Now it's dry, and you can add more if you want. But I think we are out of time. We can just inscribe it. We have 10 minutes left. So it will be here. And this time he didn't write the strange character style that he invented in the later years, but we can still use red pens to do that. Okay. And I'll add a little bit definition here. It's light ink, dry brush, the shady part of this rock, this cliff. A little dry brush to give some substance, otherwise it would be like too soft. No feel of the hardness of the rock. Hold the brush very tight and then try to deliver the power into the paper. Just a little bit divide. A little bit hint of texture and writing with red. Okay. There must be a title, I think. This one is he's a poet, so he writes his own. He just writes something like 华山多奇峰. So there are many strange rocks in Huashan. So we can just say Huashan, Songfeng, Huashan. I just realized this line is different. He has this rock that continues the contour of the trunk that goes down. So I added this. I think this kind of continuity is important. kind of forms a straight line in the middle. Okay. I want to root it. Okay, let's see. 花. I already wrote this character here. I try to mimic his style. It would be like that. Well, it's hard. I don't have that mentality. Kind of hard. Yeah, it's all kind of twisted, not parallel, not equal, not symmetrical to create this kind of contrast dynamic. Anyway, 华山多奇峰. Victoria, maybe you can help to type this title. 华山多奇峰. I think one way to do his style is kind of squeeze or some stroke together, or miss something like yeah. Squeeze it in the middle and make triangular loops. And a very sudden change of thickness of the stroke. It all contributes to this kind of painting and calligraphy. Okay, it just says a year and my name. I didn't write his name in this case because I recreated this painting and combined his composition, original composition and the late styles. I will add a little wash, maybe a little something to the trunk. Okay, I think that's too much already. Okay, we have some minutes. I'm going to write to the draw the seal again. So, there's a story. You know, there are many interpretations of his strange behavior. One story says why he doesn't use regular seal instead of hand-drawn seal. It says in a trip to Shanghai in the late 60s, just before the Cultural Revolution, he met this famous seal engraving artist named Qian Shoutie in Shanghai, and Qian promised him to make a good name seal for him. But during the initial chaos of the Cultural Revolution, Qian was persecuted and committed suicide or beaten to die. I didn't know. So he died before he could fulfill his wish. And so to remember, due to this reason, so he gave up using any seal. He would draw his seal to express himself, the sadness of losing a good friend in Cultural Revolution. So this time, after this class, don't worry if you don't have a seal. You can draw it, right? Whenever you need, you just put your initial or whatever you want to using the. You don't have to use red on this calligraphy. You can just draw the seal with a cinnabar or vermilion. Okay, that's it for today. Any questions and comments? Let me see the chat room. You can open your microphone if you have any questions. Okay. And it's late. Okay, thanks, Anne, for your participating. I know you're expecting this lesson. Good, you catch up a little, at least. And so we have completed 52. Next class, I'm not sure, so I would ask you for your suggestion because we only have 2 classes. I could do some more fusion style landscape. Some artists like overseas Chinese in the States or in Europe. I can also do some native literary artists survived after Cultural Revolution and rediscovered. These are also very interesting. So depends on your interest. Just let me know, email me. Incidentally, I have another lesson coming up in the new year featuring fusion landscape, fusion watercolor landscape painting to celebrate the year of the tiger with the Brooklyn Public Library again. So it will be 13 or 15 classes. We'll do the different regions where tiger inhabited and different tiger species. Also, anything related to tiger, like tiger flowers, tiger lilies, for example, and the tiger cat. Anything you can think about related to tiger butterfly also. So I would, as a introduction, we may do something in a fusion, like a landscape, Western landscape on rice paper in the following class to warm up for that. If you want to stay with more classical, we can go we can go another artist with a more authentic classical Chinese landscape literary style. Depends on what you want to go. So, but in anyway, as you can see, in the life of Shi Lu, he has developed his unique style by combining various traditions. Okay, I will spend just a few minutes to finish this collection, so you can have a more better view of his painting. He can use red to paint orchid and bamboo, like this one is orchid, right? And you can see his brush stroke and his writing, the same style. And this orchid in ink with rock in the landscape setting, very, very nice. And this calligraphic orchid is his trademark. Look at the bending leaf, but with a very bony leaf, bone also, so we call bony stroke with like bending leaves. And see look at this little ending. Just one single stroke for the flower. Yeah, this is his socialist realism painting in the early 50s. In the middle age, he attempted to. He was an editor of a mass propaganda magazine. He painted this for those, and this is called the Yishan, the moved mountain. It's like a fusion style, right? But the content is a portraying of the socialist country, the new society. But he doesn't like it. Many painting, he became famous. He later are not satisfied. He think it's too storytelling, too illustrative. So he liked to go beyond that and try to be more poetic. That's why he painted the Mao in the above the mountain. That painting. This is a realistic painting he did with Tibet. In Tibet, very famous. But you can see how he can handle the complicated things. It's a painting, it's very nice atmosphere with the Han Chinese and the Tibetan. Okay, he has a long description of the story, something like that, I think. Okay, this painting actually is my first encounter with his art. It was a painting I saw on radio. They covered the radio with the painting, the speaker. And when I was very young, like 5 years old, I saw this painting. I always remember. It's called Changcheng, the Great Wall. There's a railway crossing the Changcheng. So it's a very famous Gongbi painting he did in the early 60s, I think. Has a lot of positive comments, but he said, no good, I don't like it. It's too storytelling, too just illustrative of it's like a fake something, he doesn't like. So he would do something more beyond reality and pointing to the infinity of life, time, and future, but not just to praise kind of patriotism kind of art. But this is really good in art, I think, to combine. You can see he combines landscape, figure painting, animal painting, modern architecture, ancient architecture. Can you do all this in one painting and so harmonized? Nobody could, other than Shilu. He's really a genius, a talent, a mad and wild painter, very rational in the same time. Yeah, he could deal with most difficult challenges. Because I was in this kind of painting. When I was like in teenage, I paint this theme. You come up with a theme first and then illustrate it. That's very challenging. So when I took the job early this year to do the calendar for the Tiger year, I really hesitated. I really record, this kind of pressure to do political correct painting or commercial is the same thing, right? The pressure of doing commission is no fun. He spent more than half a year to do that Mao over the cliff painting, and later he was criticized, denied. Anyway, so it in the process of creating my commission work, we will do something almost like done, and then there's a boss coming up, and they usually not in charge, but suddenly they got authority saying, no, you cannot paint a tiger facing at the people. You cannot do, he met the same thing. He was told not to paint Mao in the back view or something like that, but he always do that. Later, he developed his, let me see if I can show his, okay, the animal paintings just for fun. He did calligraphy. Oh, his hand-drawn seal. This is in case like a cube of some figure and animal dancing, something interesting. It's a part of this calligraphy. Nobody can read that, I think. He also does figure painting very nicely, and more his small painting of mountain hua. Okay, this painting is actually the 40s. He joined the army, the propaganda team. He's painting stage setting for propaganda, like performance, stage performance. And this woodblock cutting painting is called it Down with Feudalism. It's probably reflecting his own family. He lived in a family like in a castle like this, and you can see peasants, the revolutionary peasants holding long, kind of primitive weapons to climb up to the. They rob the wealthy, they redistribute the land. That's the revolution. So that's what he did very well in the 1940s. And then later so each like a 5-7 year, he will change his style completely according to the time demands. He survived, yeah. He's a survivor, definitely, creative survivor, I call him. And this is the foliage. It did. This is a persimmon tree, harvest of persimmons, and harvest of mulberry. Mulberry, and the girl picking mulberry leaves for silkworms, in the field. The mulberry trees, yeah, and mulberry trees again. His flower and birds painting. I want to see if I have that painting there. The rose. I was inspired by his rose painting to develop. Oh, this is not rose, but camellia. It looks like a rose, right? Camellia. Yeah, rose, right? Okay. And if you look at the painting behind me, and you can see my early rose is very similar to his, right? I got inspired from him. Okay. Very powerful. And red bamboo. His horse, he's famous with this painting. This is a small study, and he did a large painting. This is not the final work, but something like that, depicting the red guerrilla capital of Yan'an. He joined in late 30s, early 40s, the horses drinking in the Yan River. And some more 60s, in 1960s, he painted this landscape in the Xi'an area, the West China, the Yellow River. Yeah, you can get all this collection from my Dropbox folder after the class. And if you have questions, you can ask in the online class, okay? Thanks for staying late with me, and this is the most famous painting he did. I hope you enjoyed this class and get inspired. Art is a therapy for our soul in this time, or whatever, you know, just to keep painting and keep happy. Okay, better than Prozac. Don't spend money on consulting, definitely. Pay my class. I hope it helped. Later, I'll share my own experience with a major depression I suffered in Seattle. But I try not to mention it, but I just let you know I have same experience. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get personal, but I hope you all have your stories. If you live long, you have to learn how to deal with trauma. Okay. And Shilu is a very successful, but also a lesson for us to learn. He is an alcoholic. Don't drink, paint, but don't drink. Yeah, I think. So alcoholic actually kills him. He died not from mental illness, but from stomach cancer due to heavy alcoholic. He believes alcohol contains nutrition equals to 3 or 4 times of a meal. So every day he drink alcohol as a meal. Too bad. Yeah, I think I wish I have more time to translate all the documentary. There are 3 hours documentary encoded by his daughter, Shidan. You can find on YouTube, you know, maybe Ping, you already saw that, right? I wish I could have time to share more with you that documentary. And if you just, you know, look at the pictures, maybe Google would do some auto translation. I hope. If not, just you know, follow the visuals. You will have a feel. His very dramatic life and art, and I wish you enjoyed. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye.